Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy morning today. Oh, feeling a little rough today. Let's make sure we got audio. Oh, yeah. Do we have? Oh, yeah, we got audio. So a couple weeks ago, I was like flu type sick. And then about 15 days ago, my daughter gets sick. And then we're on the road for, gosh, it felt like forever. And then finally I got this. It's like a cold. So we're going to do our best to not be super sick on the air today for you if we can help it. If we can't help it, then we'll just be super sick on the air. That's okay. I'm going to make sure we got good audio this morning. It looks like we are live, which is great. And we're going to make sure that we got good audio.
From electricalexamcoach.com.
There we go. All right. We got good audio, it looks like. Super excited to be with everyone this morning. Got a good podcast cut out for us today. Super excited about it. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I am the Electrical Code Coach, and this is the Alpha Phase Podcast. And our goal is to be the number one in adding value to you. Let's go ahead and get to it. Today, we're going to dive into our Today in History segment. On October 22nd, this day in 1883, the first tramway powered by overhead electric wires was live. On October 22nd, 1883, the Molding and Herbentenbrum tram in Austria began regular service using electricity supplied via overhead wires at about 550 volts DC. What's notable is this was the first tramway in the world to operate commercially with overhead line for electric traction. For those in the electrical trade, imagining the overhead conductor supports, insulators mounted on poles or structures, the current collection hardware on the moving vehicle, the clearances between the wires and public ways, and the return path and the bonding considerations. I've got a very cool photo we're going to look at here in just a moment. This installation laid the foundational practices for overhead feed system, trolley wires, insulation selection, current collection wear, clearances to adjacent structures, and public safety around electric railways. I want you to take a look at this photo here, and this would have been similar. And this is where we started getting our first need for consideration for these overhead electrified wires, right? We would have had overhead telephone wires at this point, but this is for overhead electrification. And we had to start thinking about things like, how far away am I from another structure? How far up off the ground am I? Is this going to clear trains? Is this going to clear other type of wagons and other things like that? So it's amazing to watch the history kind of evolve from linemen who are working only on like telegraph wires, to phone wires, to electricity, to high voltage, to AC, and everything in between. Now let's take a look at the next one. On October 22nd, 1925, this was the filing of the precursor patent for the field effective transistor concept, which powers our modern world today. On October 22nd, 1925, engineer physicist Julius Edgar Lilienfeld filed Canadian patent CA, this number, describing a device in which a conducting film current is influenced by an electrostatic control, essentially an early concept for a field effective transistor. While this originates in the electronics realm, for electricians, inspectors, and electrical enthusiasts, it's deeply relevant. The concept of controlling current through solid materials rather than vacuum tubes underlines modern switching, protective devices, drive systems, automation, control panels, and instrumentation. Recognizing how today's power electronics, variable speed drives, protective relays, and solid state devices descend from this milestone helps frame how the low voltage control side connects to the larger power systems that we inspect and install. And finally, this day on October 22nd in 1900, The municipal hydroelectric power reaches Idaho Falls. Now, when you think about how far away that is, let's take a look at it. In 1900, the city of Idaho Falls, then known as Falls, Idaho, officially commenced municipal hydroelectric power generation and distribution. So this is in 1900, marking one of the early examples of a city controlling its own electric supply from hydro source. Another really early electrification would have been in the city of Elizabeth in Tennessee. It was then called the City of Lights. And of course, it would have been later in time, but it would have been one of the first cities that got electrification in that area via all of the new dams of the TVA. All right, now back to it. From the electrical infrastructure perspective, this meant civil works, dam channels and turbines, generator installs, switchgear, transmission lines to city loads, distribution works, metering, load centers, protective devices, all in a municipality utility framework. For inspectors and electricians working today, many of the same themes apply. Generator integration, switchgear maintenance, line installation, grounding and bonding, distribution network protection, municipal utility safety practice. Recognizing the heritage of municipal hydroelectric systems offers insight into today's municipal power systems and their inspection requirements. What I find interesting about this is that we see here a city wanting to own its own power grid. I've got zero problem with a city wanting to own its own power grid, but I think it's interesting as we look back through the sands of time and on this new segment on the podcast, and we start to see how electricity was really birthed and how it grew and how it started out as this amazing concept. And let me go back to this article here real quick. If you notice here, electricity didn't exist, and then shabam, they flipped the switch here in Idaho Falls, and it created so many jobs, from the electrician to the power company to the meter people to the people who made the meters to the people who made all the protective devices, all the installers, all the people in between. We saw this massive birth of things that nobody would have ever thought of and jobs that nobody would have ever thought of. Yes, we're getting ready to have large job displacement via AI, and we're already seeing it, but there's also going to be jobs birthed that we couldn't fathom. They would have never fathomed, even 10 years before this, that there would have been an electrical lineman and women, that there would have been panel makers, that there would have been a metering department. You got to think of all the jobs that are run and fueled off electricity just from this one invention, and we're getting ready to start having inventions in our society that we can't even dream of. Now let's take a look at Tool Corner. This one really caught my eye. Of course, we're on Racketeers.com again. They have all the tools. This one here, I don't know if you are in the practice of bending. Let me make sure. Okay, make sure I got audio. I don't know if you're in the practice of bending your own PVC with a hot box or however you like to bend it, but this here simplifies it for you. The Bender's Friend is an easy way to use a template for bending perfect 90s with your PVC. To be paired with your heat source, the Bender's Friend will allow you to make kink-free bends every single time. It works with sizes 1/2 inch, 3/4, or 1 inch. So for some of your smaller bends. The beautiful thing about this, of course, we've all had pre-built 90s, pre-built couplings, lots of glue, doesn't look as good. If you're able to do your own bends, of course it looks nicer. If you can pull off the bend and make it look good. This tool here seems like it might work. I'll go ahead and pick one of these up for us, try it out, see if it works. Pick up a hot box. I don't have a hot box currently. I sold all my tools when I sold my company a few years ago, but we're getting ready to get back in the field. So what better time to go ahead and pick up a bender, try this thing out in action, and see if it works. You can go down in the link in the description below. If you're on a mobile phone, just click that more button, and you can check out Racketeers.com. Make sure you use that link, and if you use the coupon code COACH10, you'll end up saving 10%. They've got the coolest tools and things that you would just never think of, and this one is no different. Looks like they hit a grand slam with the Bender's Friend, but I'm going to purchase it and find out for sure. Now let's talk about the code of the day. When we hit Article 230, we are dealing with services. Anytime we're in Article 230, we're dealing with services, service conductors, service equipment. Anything for the service is on the line side of the first main breaker or fuse. Anything on that side of it. We're going to call it the left side. Anything on this side of the main breaker or fuse. Now, there are things and equipment that are allowed to be on that line side. And we're not going to go through all of those today, but there are some. I don't want to say the first piece of equipment you come to because that might not be true, right? There's metering equipment, there's metering disconnects, there are other pieces of equipment that you're allowed to install on the line side. But once you get to that first main breaker or main fuse, that's when your service is officially going to start in most cases. Everything in the NEC is always in most cases. Let's take a look at 230.6 and talk about its significance. Conductors considered outside of a building. Why would we need to know if a conductor is considered outside of a building or not? Well, there's several codes. It could be to do with depth, burial depth. It could be to do with the service entering the structure at the nearest point. There's a lot of different codes that, and other things, the type of wire that we're using on whether or not it's outside of a building. So there's many things and many codes that kick in whether or not these conductors are inside of a building or not. Let's take a look at the 5 ways here that they are considered outside of the building. Conductors are treated as being outside of a building or structure when any of the following apply. They are installed beneath a building or structure with at least 2 inches of concrete cover. They are installed inside a building or structure within a raceway encased in not less of 2 inches of concrete or brick. They are located in a vault built in compliance with the construction standards of Part 450. They are placed in a conduit beneath a building or structure and covered by at least 18 inches of earth. They are installed through an eave, but not through a wall, in rigid metal conduit or intermediate metal conduit, meeting the requirements of 230.24. So, there are several ways that conductors are considered outside of a building, suite, 2 inches of concrete, 18 inches below the earth. And this is important because they're, like I said, and it's outside of the scope of today, there are a ton of different codes that kick in whether you are inside or outside of the building. Knowing these codes can save you dramatically, can save you distances of running conduit around a building, can save you material when you're dealing with wire. It can save you a lot of things if you know these codes, especially if you've been written up on something. You can say, well, now wait a second, these conductors aren't technically in the building yet, and let me explain why. Anytime you come to an inspector or anybody in the trade, always come with code. Don't come with emotion. Don't come with fear. Don't come with anger. If you come at me and I'm your age, Jay, you better come at me with code. And the reason is I only deal in code. I can only interpret or look at the lens of code. Now, if I am the authority having jurisdiction, I have the ability to approve things, but I have to be able to stand behind it, look at past codes, look at future codes, look at the practical sense of it, and I got to be able to go to bed at night and not worry about it being liability or first off, somebody being hurt. Second off, liability personally, professionally. I want to know that what we do is practically safe. That is the best term that I know of in the NEC, is that we're trying to make it practically safe. I do think there needs to be some rewording, and you can look forward to my public input in the 2029 for that little piece of code, but we won't get into that today. Now let's talk about the locker room. Let's hit the locker room. This is our small business coaching. You likely either own your own business, you want to own your own business, and or you will be forced to own your own business one day because of the rise of technology. Let's talk about when to hire. First, let's talk about when to hire your first person. You're getting started. The phone's starting to ring. You're excited. It can feel overwhelming. You've got 2 whole weeks worth of work and you just feel like you're swamped and the phone keeps ringing. These are all good things. In reality, it doesn't take long to book out one person, right? You take your month's worth of work as one person and you add in another person, you now have 2 weeks worth of work. You add in another person, you now have a week's worth of work. And you're not going to start hiring a bunch of people based off of 1 week's worth of work. But when we're talking about hiring your first person, make sure that you've got a few weeks worth of work out. Make sure, and I'm going to tell you the best way. Have I always done it this way? No. Should you always do it this way? Probably. Make sure you've got plenty of work, steady flow of work. and when I hire someone, I always tell them, I don't promise you any amount of hours, but the amount of hours you work, you will get paid for. I have never missed a payroll in 20 years. I have never, I won't, I won't say that I've never not worked anybody 40 hours, but there's been very few times that we did not get a full week. But I don't promise any amount of hours, but every dime they've ever worked for me has been paid out. I've never missed a Friday ever. Have we been 455 at the bank? Yes. Have we been, I got to come see you with cash later this evening? Yes, we have. But because I just was waiting to get money moved, or I wasn't physically at the money was at the house, blah, blah, blah. Always had everybody paid on Friday. Not always me, but always everybody else. So long story short, you've got work coming in, you've got steady work, you've got 40 hours for yourself for more than 2 weeks, and you've got 1 month's payroll saved up. Now, what you think payroll is going to be, you can likely add another 30 or 40% onto that, because you have to take their wage, then add their workman's comp, then add their taxes, insurance, and Social Security. So, and what it costs to process all that payroll. So take their pay, multiply it by 40, then add on 30%, 40% to cover yourself. You could talk to a tax advisor as well. This is not tax advice. And have yourself ready. First off, have the infrastructure set up. If you don't have workman's comp, don't hire anybody, period. If you don't have your general liability, if you're not licensed, you're not in any business to be hiring, you need to go back to steps 1, 2, and 3. This is assuming you're a full, legal, legit business. You've already got your workman's comp. You've already got your ability to pay taxes, and you're already ready to go. Then you save up, if you can, 1 month's wages. It's probably going to look somewhere depending on what level you're hiring at, it's probably going to look anywhere in between $3,000 and $7,000, depending on what price range you're bringing someone in at. So if you've got $3,000 to $7,000 saved up, if you can. If you can't, do what you got to do until you get it, but make sure that you've got their pay no matter what at the end of the week. 2 weeks worth of work minimum. Phone ringing already fully established. You're not waiting for something to get approved or to get your business license or to get your insurance quotes back. You never hire anybody. You just tell the people that you can't do their work if you can't do it, right? Before you hire somebody and not be fully legitimate yet. So you've got yourself legitimate, couple weeks worth of work, phones ringing consistently, and you've got 4 weeks worth of payroll saved. That is the most healthy way. You'll never miss a payroll. You'll never be without money. You're going to continue stacking that money in. And then this is a lesson for another day, but somebody needs to be constantly making sure that more money gets in the bank. That's like someone's laser focus. All right, now let's talk about, so that's when to hire your first person. That's the ideal way. Any way less than that can work, but it's not ideal. That's the best way to hire, the best way that will be the most successful with the least amount of stress for you, because you need to be busy running your business. You're likely still installing at this point. Now let's talk about when to add more people. This is where most businesses get burnt. This is when you get in over your head. This is when you lose your business, when you lose your mind, when you lose your sanity, when you lose your peace, is when you overreact to a little bit of work coming in and you do a ton of hiring. It's so easy to hire. It's very hard to fire. Because you know they have a family and you've made promises and this and that. You can have 2 weeks. I've seen people with 2 weeks worth of work and a hope of a contract coming, and they will start hiring people. Listen to me. People will wait. But what they will not do, and what kills you, is that when you have way too many employees, slowly add one person at a time. Who you become in between van 1 readies you for van 2. So if I've got more work than all of my men and women can handle for a month, then I can consider hiring more people. A month. Listen to me. If you're not a month out, you've got no business hiring another person if you've already got 1 or 2 people. You never hire based off of hopes of contracts. You only go off of actual signed contracts. I try to go only off of actual landed book jobs that we've already started. I've ran out there and got the material. We've started hanging boxes, whatever. Like, that's the kind of work that I like banking off of, because things change, people change, contracts change. I've seen it happen. I've seen it all. So listen to me. If you've got a month's worth of work out, and ideally you've got that person's pay saved up for a month, then you're in a power position to hire. Can you do it differently? Yes, you can. You can hire however you want. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. I'm trying to tell you the way that doesn't end up with you being a spaz, freaking out, losing everything, having to fire people right after you hire them. I know people that have had to hire people and 2 weeks later let the people go. Listen, do not hire based off of future hopes, future promises of work. Every contractor is going to tell you, if you do this house, you'll get all of them. And I know I can feel you guys nodding, those who have had your own business in the past. Everybody promises you a million jobs. If somebody beats you by a nickel, they will drop you. There's zero loyalty. Don't count on it. Now, can you eventually earn and build a mutual loyalty? 100% you can. But don't count on that. Never hire people based off of promised work. Never, there's 50 houses going in this subdivision. He said, I got them all. Never hire people based off of that. You hire people based off of actual work. And if you've got a month's worth of work and you guys are drowning for 2, 3, 4 weeks, then consider hiring someone else. Never go out and hire a bunch of people. Never hire more than one person at a time unless you are instantly placing those people and you've got a month's worth of work for those people. But I encourage you, never hire more than one van at a time. Listen to me. You never want to hire more than one van at a time because who you become in between van 2 and van 3 readies you for van 4. If you jump from van 2 to van 6, I promise you, you don't have the infrastructure and estimating, the payroll infrastructure, the workflow, the material flow, and just being the type of person that it takes to run 6 or 8 people more than what you were running yesterday. Grow slow, painfully slow. Make sure you've got way more than enough work, way more than enough money. Take your time and do it the right way. If you take your time and do it the right way, you are 10,000 more times likely to succeed. You won't be stressed out where you start becoming a different person, and you will do better than everyone around you. The quickest way to fail is to hire a bunch of people. Hire a bunch of people that you don't have the work for based off of promised contracts, very little money in the bank. You will look like a joker. It will cost you every single time. You'll end up running around, and I hate to even say this saying, but it's the truth, like a chicken with your head cut off, and you will just have a bad business. So I'm telling you, that first hire, make sure you've got at least 2 weeks worth of work already on the books, contracted, not hopes of work. You have a phone that rings consistently, and you've got 4 weeks of their pay. If you've already got employees, you've got 4 weeks worth of work booked out. You guys can't keep up with it for sure. Not dreams and hopes of you getting your tools off, but you guys can't keep up the work with everybody you've got on staff. You've got 4 weeks worth of work. Ideally, you've got 4 weeks worth of pay for that new employee. Then you can hire with confidence. You can move with stride. The moment you remove your confidence, the moment you start worrying, the moment you start stressing out, it starts eating away at the rest of your performance, and then it's like a snowball. It exacerbates and messes with your current clients, your current jobs, your current employees, and you can't handle what you had already because now you have inserted too many people too fast and too quick and didn't let yourself grow out where it's at. Now let's get to know the coach. Who is my favorite person? Well, that's a wild question, ain't it? My favorite person. Well, it took me less than the time it takes to take a sip of that coffee to know it's my wife. My wife is hands down my favorite person. She's my best buddy. She's my confidant. She's my business partner. She's my GSD, get stuff done person. She is my, we laugh together, joke together, play together. I could do without a lot of people in the world, can't do without my wife. Me and her are just like peanut butter and jelly. So I would definitely say that my favorite person is my wife. Now let's give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. This is StackMax. If you've not seen it, StackMax is the ultimate solution, in my opinion, for stacking, racking, and storing wire. We don't have to live like that anymore when we can live like this. I want you to be a boss out on the job. I don't want you to play around. I don't want you to be dinking around with broken rolls of wire, cutting yourself. How many times have you cut yourself on a broken roll of wire? And I want you to be proficient in what you do. I want you to take these racks out, put them wherever you need them, and be able to physically pull anywhere that you need to go. Don't, fumble around like a joker trying to set something up. Look at that. Buy you one for 12 gauge, buy you one for 10 gauge, and set that thing out, rack it. Why don't you put your stranded in the front, put your solid in the back, and then you are totally racked out for anything that you need to pull. And look at this guy. He sets it in, he slides it over, takes up a very small footprint. While you're storing it, if you wanted to, you could store other things in it, pull them out as needed, because I know you're not, we're not always racking wire every day. These are made in America, y'all. You can head over to stackmax.com, save 10% by using the coupon code COACH. Go ahead and pick you up 2. Start with 1 if you want, but if you get 2, you can do your 12s and your 10s. I am the electrical code coach. Let's get to it. All right, y'all, this is the funny pick of the day. If you want your funny pick featured, you can send it over to electricalcodecoach@gmail.com. Put the subject, funny pick. This one here is not only funny, it's awesome. You could make one of these and sell it. I believe that would sell at Lowe's, Home Depot, or any other big box store. I'm not convinced this one is UL listed, but take a look at that. Not only are you getting full wind, but you're getting full body coverage. Imagine standing in front of a panel, you're blistering hot, you've got your inverter running on the truck, and somebody rolls up with this. I feel like you would hear like a oh type music and type noise when that thing came in. Love this thing. Highly would be interested in checking it out, seeing if it works. Just looks like a couple cheap. Of course, nothing's cheap nowadays. These box fans are even $20 at Walmart. Looks like a couple cheap box fans mounted up. Imagine if you took 2 of the old really beast ones, like the tank metal ones, and put that thing on there. I thought this was pretty cool. And this is our funny pick of the day. Now I want you to remember this code. Listen to me. Every day we're going to be memorizing a code. I want you to be a beast in the code. I don't want you to memorize large blocks of code because that changes, and one word can radically flip a code upside on its head. But I want you to start remembering where the section is in the book. And for our working spaces, and I had to put it like that because working space is like a type of workspace. But our working spaces, meaning the distance we need in front of a panel, the distance we need above a panel, to the side of the panel, all of those inner workings, some of the most important codes in the NEC, are found in 110.26. So yesterday we learned 210.8 for GFCI protection. Today we are learning 110.26. Say it with me wherever you are. 110.26. 110.26. And that's where we're going to find all of our working spaces. Our 36 inches, our 30 inches, our 6.5 feet, all of those spaces that we need to know and love. Now make sure that you start at the charging statement, meaning at 110.26, before you get off into the A's, B's, C's, D's, E's, and F's, I want you to read that charging statement because it applies to all of those A, B, C's, D's, and F's unless specifically changed in one of those. This is where you're also going to find your requirements for illumination, and it's really just a great section. Did you know that you can read this whole section in probably 2 minutes, maybe 3? Go there. Read it today. You're going to glean something that you didn't know about. It's going to get you chewing. It's going to get you thinking. But most importantly, I want you to remember 110.26, and that is going to be our working spaces. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the electrical history for the day and round it out. Back in 1879, Thomas Edison described one of the earliest forms of what is now called the circuit breaker, a simple protective device meant to stop short circuits and overloads in lighting circuits. Of course, at the time, that's what he was thinking because all they had was lighting. Although Edison's commercial system relied on fuses, his idea planted the seed for something far more advanced. In 1924, German engineer Hugo Stotitz, working with Brown, Brover, and Kai, patented a miniature circuit breaker that combined a thermal and magnetic protection, the same basic principle used in most modern homes today. As electrical systems evolved from isolated power stations to vast interconnected grids, engineers had to invent a way to safely interrupt higher voltages and enormous fault currents. Early air brake switches were prone to dangerous arcing, so inventors turned to oil-immersed contacts and eventually to pressurized air-gas systems that would extinguish arc safely. By the 1930s, projects like Boulder Dam were using massive oil-filled breakers capable of stopping faults in the 2,500 mega VA MVA in the just 3 cycles, which is remarkably fast. Remarkable for the time. Over the following decades, as electricity expanded into neighborhoods and homes, manufacturers refined these designs into compact, reliable units. By the mid-20th century, the familiar residential breaker began to protect household circuits, began to replace fuse boxes across America after offering a safer and more convenient way to protect household circuits. Today, every home benefits from more than a century of engineering progress, from Edison's first perspective idea to Stotz's precision mechanisms, all the way to the sleek automatic circuit breakers that quietly guard our modern systems today. That's a little brief electrical history about the circuit breaker. I am the electrical code coach, and my bargain is that these videos will add value to you, and you will in turn add value to others. If there's anything you need from me, you can always email me at electricalcodecoach@gmail.com. This is the Alpha Phase Podcast, but there is one who is the alpha of alphas, and he's the one that gives me the strength, the grit, the determination, the grind to push even when I'm sick, don't feel like it, don't want